check. We got audio. We got pizza. We got coffee. Audio's picking up. Pizza's here. Tony's here. Brandon Henderson is here. I'm your host, Cook Joel Lincoln here. Special edition, live edition, coming to you live from Tony and I's home away from home. Hendo's been here for a couple weeks. We're here live in North Res Hall, Snow Valley Basketball School. Just got done on Friday with boys session 3. Wrapped up an awesome session. Tony, what was your biggest takeaway from session 3? We had an awesome amount of coaches from 5 or 6 different countries across the United States. What's one thing you remember from last week?
Maybe just the continuity of how the coaches got along and stuff like that.
Excellent. And here we go. Since this is a live show and we did not put a sign on the door, we're going to be joined here with Idaho legend John Radford. His son won a national championship last year at College of Idaho. He's representing the Utes. And we're going to also have an first ever international guest, Coach William Twig. They're trying to figure out how to join the frame. One of you guys is going to be here in between Coach Radford. If we could have you pop on the couch. And then actually, Twig, we're going to have you join right over here by me. We're going to be recapping session 3 of the boys. Come on over, Twig. Coach Radford, awkward in the middle. We're going to be talking about different things we learned. And then Coach Henderson on the end did a tremendous job last week with the bigs. We also, this show is not sponsored, and this is only investment advice. I'm not a professional, so consult with someone that is. Casey's number 3 most profitable regional chain. We got Casey's Breakfast Pizza here for the guys. We got William Twig to my right, your left. John Radford joined in the middle. Tony, Coach Radford, and Brandon at the end. Brandon, how long have you been working Snow Valley? And as a Snow Valley veteran from California to Iowa, if you could give us a couple differences in the camps, welcome to the program.
Thanks for inviting me. This is an honor to be part of this. I've been to this camp now as a player and coach since 2004. So I'd say the difference from California to Iowa is that in California there's courts that are outside, so that's a different dynamic. But for the most part, it was created by Herb Livesey. We do the same model in Iowa that Herb Livesey created in California. So they just do the same model. So I would say the difference is just that in California you got to be out in the sun.
Yeah, well, and I assume Santa Barbara, California is slightly different than Waverly, Iowa. Another Snow Valley veteran who also had his son, like we already previously mentioned, attended camp. Coach Radford, as somebody that's coached the camp in California, in Iowa, has driven across the country several times for this camp, had a son attend this camp. What do you think? What was your experience like as a dad with your son at camp?
It was awesome. Great to watch him being coached by somebody else. Great coaches at the camp. And so it was one of my favorite times traveling with my son across country, 22-hour drive from Idaho. Took a couple days. Can't replace those times that you have in the car and just hanging out. And it was a great experience for my son. He's carried on those lessons into his college career and helped him have a good college career.
Excellent. And now, when did you start coaching at Snow Valley?
I started in the summer of 1990. The camp was 6 days, half day on Sunday, 5 full days. I concur with Brendan about being out on the pavement, out in the sun in the afternoon, coaching. And we're up at the same time, up at 5:45, sometimes getting to bed at 11.
On an early night.
Yeah, oh boy. And the camp itself was 5 days, Monday through Thursday or Friday, and then Saturday half day, and then Sunday half day when you opened it up. So, but the same core values are a part of this camp, just happens to be a day or two shorter. but the values are still there, which makes this camp special.
And at 5:45 in Santa Barbara, California, when you're out there doing clinics, was there any issues? You mentioned there being outdoor courts. Obviously, basketballs when bouncing makes sound. So was there any people that complained or any issues like that? I've only heard stories. I've been to Santa Barbara, but not with Snow Valley. So
There was a special place called The Rock, which was an upper court away from the whole camp. You're probably an eighth of a mile away. In the fog in the morning, sometimes it was hard to see the basket. And then we had the old Marlboro man up there, and he was a little grouchy at 6 a.m. in the morning when he heard the basketballs being bounced and reverberated in the fog. But we seemed to survive that. But yeah, The Rock is a special place to coach.
excellent. And then our last surprise guest, and Coach Radford, and Twig knew, but he didn't tell Coach Radford. And Coach Twig's not been a great teammate today. We're not going to address that fully on the program. It will be addressed. But this is Coach Blaine Twig here from London, coaches for the London Lions. And Twig has been coming, and one quick note before we talk to Coach Twig. I was born in 1990, so Coach Radford, I believe I watched his son grow up. I think when Johnny started coming, I started coaching here in 2009. Johnny would have been around 5th or 6th grade.
No, you were doing it we came here at 13 or 14.
Okay, so yeah, saw Johnny, and then Johnny and I was out there last summer, spent some time in Haley earlier this summer. If you follow the program, that was already referenced. So Coach William Twig is here from the London Lions. Twig, how long have you been coming to Snow Valley Basketball School?
Since 2018, so 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, we obviously took 2020 with COVID.
Right, so
nobody came.
Yeah.
So what has been, coming here, how did you find out about the camp? Obviously, London is not close to Waverly, Iowa, and is probably not on most people. If you're booking a vacation to the States, you're not saying Iowa is the number one place to go. So how did you find out about the camp and get involved?
So the way I found out about Snow Valley was through Don Showalter. I was fortunate, so I met him at a USA Basketball Gold Clinic in Cleveland and got to know Don, and then that was it, really. He invited me down here, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Excellent. And so you've been coming here since 2018. First time you came to camp, what did you know about it? What did you expect? And then finally, what was the reality of the situation?
So I came in pretty blind to it, so not really knowing what's about it. I've done some research online, but I think it's something you've got to be a part of to understand what it's actually about. And can I get this last time? I'm going to get this last time.
Well, this is breakfast pizza. Breakfast pizza here.
And that was a big thing, right? And that was the reality of it. I didn't really know a thing until I got here, and the layout and how it ran. And when I got here, oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever been up at 5:30, 5:45 a.m. and then coached through to 11 p.m. I think that was a big reality shock of what this camp was about and the amount of dedication and committed coaches there are here. But you got to love basketball to be here. You can't just like it. You got to love it to be here. And every coaching staff that is here, they do love it. They love the game. It's one of these camps that isn't just for players. It's for coaches as well, where they feel regenerized after that and ready to start the next season. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know last week all of us were here last week for boys session 3. We had just over 400 campers, about 80 coaches. And every week of Snow Valley is great. And the coaching staff is always tremendous. But last week, and Twig mentioned it, as a coach you come here, we had Bruce Kreutzer, who's the shooting coach for Charlotte Hornets, was here. Clay Mosier, who I just heard a few podcasts and things with him. He's got a crazy interesting story. Coach, we're hoping to bring you on. I don't know if you'll share the same stories, but it's just somebody that's been a lifetimer in the game. And obviously, Coach Showalter, 72-0 in international competition. We'll go quickly down the line of, a clinician, a good friend of all of ours, Coach Locke. I remember not only I came here as a camper, similar to Johnny, Coach Radford's son, came here as a camper in middle school and early high school, and then started coaching here right after college or right after I graduated high school with Coach Showalter being in my high school conference. So we've all, been talking to a handful of vets. If you're here in the years, how long we've been working it. Tony, remind us our first year. We've talked about this, I believe, in the last episode. But when did you start coming to Snow Valley?
11 years ago.
Okay, so yeah, we've got a lot of different clinics. Who are some of the coaches that you've heard or seen their clinics that really stick out? Obviously, great coaches, it's hard to pick. It's like picking your favorite of anything. But who are some of the coaches that you guys have heard or met that have been influential? And to be transparent and honest, Tony and I became friends because of this camp. I've stayed with Coach Radford twice in Idaho. Coach Henderson and I, we've coached a really good friend of ours who is too big time to be here, Coach Fuji, but a big supporter of the program.
He's an agent now.
Yeah, he also is a booking agent. So if you want to get in contact with the program, get involved with him, Coach Twig and I have met because of this. But starting here with Twig, who are some of the coaches that, as you've been coming here for almost 5-6 years, that have stood out, or you've really adapted some of their teachings to fit your own style?
I think you said it. I think the first guy is Tate Locke. He's such a legend within the game. If you've seen, it's Blue Chips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you've seen Blue Chips, that's about him and his career and his journey. And that was an eye opener when I realized, and someone told me it was about him. I was like, whoa, really?
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. A big character as well we have at camp is J-Mac. I think J-Mac's left a lifelong impression on me. My guy Joel Lincoln himself, if you want to wake up and see a coach coaching at 6 o'clock at full strength, you watch this guy, he's absolutely on it, which is great. Fuji, another great character. But yeah, I think it's such a vast amount of different coaches that all have different strengths and great aspects of the game. It's such an eye-opener to be a part of.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. There will be absolutely people miss. So this is no disrespect or shot at anyone. This is, hey, obviously a little recency bias with Tony. Who are some of the coaches that you've seen in the decade plus you've been coming that have stood out or, impacted you directly?
Takes a lot, of course, with the box drills. I do with it, every freshman team we have in our high school program. Tom Saulstein with transition defense, pretty, detailed how he did it. Also, he kept it fun for the kids and also for the coaches. So Coach Saulstein, you would probably get a couple laughs or whatever. And Ken Spielbauer, how you just make the game fun for the kids the whole time while they're here.
Mm-hmm.
And, him just being funny, great sense of humor and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping it light. And so we've got two Snow Valley, California guys, and Tony went out there 1 year, I believe, before it transitioned to the current ownership. But Coach Radford, Coach Henderson, who are some of the legends of Snow Valley, California, or guys that you met out there that really gave good clinics or just, impacted you? Before you answer, I do want to give a quick shout out to Snow Valley, California guy who actually came to Iowa, Nelson Taroba, his Calgary team, just first year of the club. He's the first year head coach up there. And they just clinched the playoffs and they're doing amazing things in the Canadian Basketball League. And he's been a guy, as a lot of coaches have transitioned to Iowa, obviously these two and several others doing either both or just doing Snow Valley, Iowa. I wanted to give that shout out. But Coach Radford, as the OG in the room, who are some of the guys over you, and take as long as you like and feel free to list as many as you want, that really impacted you or you think have done just an awesome job teaching the game, regardless of level?
Well, I think thinking back to California, it was just the overall, I brought some players from the high school I was coaching at in California. I felt it was so beneficial for those kids to see some of the things that the overall concepts, like you get better by working on your skill set, you develop your skill set as opposed to playing games. You'll see that for me, that's the most memorable. I would say the things that I take away now, most recently, are from watching Coach Brandon work the last two camps. He has a great series of build up to post work, and his basics are called vitamins. And love that quote. I love watching you work.
Appreciate it.
And love the individual skill workouts you do along with Twig. He does it differently, and it's as effective, which is great. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And I would say of those, and just talking with Coach Show about overall, how do you build a culture in your program and so forth, have made the most recent impressions on me. It's been fantastic. Every year I come here, I'm revitalized to coach again and also to teach. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, and Coach Henderson's vitamins will be going up on our Instagram. It will be a reel here. We captured that content last week. And yeah, I as a person that does a lot of personal training now with some bigs, very fortunate to have a few bigs in Charlotte that are very good players. And I will be adapting and improvising those vitamins very soon. And Coach Henderson on the end, who are some of the coaches, both from California and Iowa, that you've enjoyed coaching alongside with learning, who's impacted you?
Well, from a California standpoint, Charlie Sands, who is I think a Snow Valley coaching legend. He's one of the original directors from the California camp. People talk about Don Showalter being an amazing teacher of the game, which he is. I think Charlie Sands is right there. So watching him control a group of kids when I was younger was just amazing to watch. So he was definitely a mentor and a person that I enjoyed learning from. Mike Dunlap was amazing to watch do transition D in California. I think he came out here too one of the years I was in Iowa. The coolest part about coming from California to Iowa is when you're in regions in the country, everything's kind of like the same. So when you come out to Iowa, you get to see maybe different ways of teaching a skill, or emphasis. So I really liked how Nick Schaff taught shooting the first year I came here. So Brandon Osborne in Texas taught rebounding, which I think rebounding is a really hard clinic to do.
Yeah.
And he put a good spin on it and made it fun. So that's some of the coaches that
And
learned from.
And who are some of the, I know Coach Showalter always mentions Mike Budenholzer, who obviously won NBA championship, coached in California, who are some of those other guys, Bill Van Gundy, who came to Iowa a handful of years ago, and is just a legend. Obviously Stan and Jeff's dad we're talking about. But who are some of those other coaches that coached in Snow Valley, California? Because when it was first beginning, the camp circuit, as other coaches have talked about, is
Jarris. He was there. There's stories of him teaching, I think, defense up at the Rock that he talked about. God, there's a lot of them. I can't, his name's slipping me. The guy that created Cutthroat.
Dick Mata.
Yep. So.
Did Pete Newell ever come out to California
His
camp?
son did.
Yeah, Pete, when I first started there, Pete Newell Jr., yeah. Pete Newell Jr. was there, yeah. Speaking of Budenholzer, when I was an assistant at University of Redlands, I scouted their teams. We played there for 2 years when he was the point for Pomona Pitzer.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was a really nice player in our league.
Gotcha. Wow, that's come full circle. A little few gray hairs showing it. What else you got?
There's a shirt that was made in it when the camp got to 50 years old, and it has every name of every coach that's worked Snow Valley Basketball School. Pretty sure you can find it on the internet, but
Okay.
when you go through the names, it's pretty
That's crazy.
remarkable to see your name next to someone. Steve Middleton, yeah. So that was cool.
Well, excellent. Yeah. And so speaking of, and you got Coach Radford, Twig, you got kind of tossed into this. And anyway, if you ever you're done with it and you want to get up and leave, feel free. The door's right there. You're more than welcome to stay. We're going to be going for about 45 minutes to it. I didn't want anyone to feel like they were hostage here in the situation. This is live internet for the handful of people that are watching this, and we just lost another. So we're trying to do our best to be entertaining and share the game. But coming through, and I think one thing that Brandon mentioned with the clinics and people that aren't familiar with Snow Valley, it is we play one game a day at night, and you go through clinics, which are a class on a skill. And rebounding is a very tough clinic because obviously rebounding, but it's something that's very important to emphasize because it happens every possession unless it's a missed basket. So we appreciate Coach Radford for his time, his knowledge. We'll see you at the meeting here. We'll have him out. See him at the meeting at 11 a.m. Appreciate you, Coach Radford. And yeah, so going through the clinics and the model that makes Snow Valley so unique. Brandon, you've led the post. How do you go about planning the clinic at Snow Valley?
Well, from a post standpoint, I think my way of teaching post is like I teach it backwards, where a lot of people will go straight into the post moves right away, where I don't think that's as beneficial than the finishing at the basket area. So that's kind of what the vitamins, how they got created, was incorporating this footwork around the basket with finishing. So we do that with finishing drill every day around the basket, because my thing is a post player can make a great move, but if he gets to the bucket and he can't score around a defender, how good is the post move? So
yeah.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Did you get to work with Big Al on post stuff in previous years? Yeah. How much did you take away from him?
There's definitely stuff. Big Al was really good at talking about getting big and shaping up to the basket and being patient, not playing fast. So
Right.
definitely
Nice.
took some nuggets from him. So, then after we do the warm up, I kind of every day there's a different emphasis. So the first day we'll do they're learning 20 the first day. The kids are like, well, how am I going to score out of 20? So we'll teach them how when they roll, if they get the ball off a roll in the short corner, their options are, and then we just build from there each day. I would like to say that I've done it 2 years in a row now doing posts. I think as a coach, if you're like, this is what we're going to do every single day and not adjust it to what the kids are, then you're not benefiting the kids.
Yeah.
Because you can be like, oh, we're going to do the face-up series with the dribble, hop, step through, all this. And if they're not there, you're wasting the kids' time, because there's other stuff that you can still work on to help them succeed. So, adjusting each day to what the next day should be.
Yeah, and the unique thing about post and position work in general is it's multiple days. There are some clinics that are one-off, one clinic within themselves, such as rebounding. It's one and done. I do a lot of the shooting clinics, and it used to be 3 when the camp was longer. Now it's just 2 days. And then Coach Twig did a great job with game shooting. So there's, a couple of clinics that I was in charge of teaching, and Brandon talks about, you build the skill and, you try to teach it thoroughly to the level that you're at. There's different divisions, like Coach Sturls mentioned with Ken Spielbauer. He's with the Central B, which is 8th graders. We've had a decent amount of, the camp has now been going on for 50 plus years in California, 30 plus years here in Iowa. AJ Green, who plays for the Bucks, has been here since I've been here as a coach. AJ, I remember him, he was in 6th grade, and he got bumped up. And I mean, there's no surprise when, the way he worked, the way he listened, all of that. And there are clinics where it's progressive, where you have multiple days and a couple top shots of teaching that skill and progressing to such as defense as well. The lead clinician will have that for 2 or 3 sessions, and then there's transition and things like that. So as Twig was mentioning, you can adapt and borrow things from coaches. And yeah, I think Brandon brought up I've got shooting today and I have my idea, but I also have, hey, if we're advanced, here's what we're going to do. If they're kind of popping through, this is a girls' week coming in. We have a lot of great women's coaches. I helped pick up a couple last night. And we've got plenty of coming in. Rob Marcoletti, who's actually from the Bay Area, St. Ignatius, is here with his team. He was here a handful of years ago coaching the boys. Now he brought his daughter and some of his team out here. So very excited, not only from the boys' week coming in now to the girls' week, but to transition in between. We've got Coach Sterling, who in between boys 2 and 3 read the entirety while we were in the cornfields of my parents' farm, read Cornfields to Golden Medals about Coach Showalter. Tony, give us some highlights, some things you took away from the book as you read. I think it's about a little south of 300 pages. Tone, would obviously Coach Showalter, if you're following the program, if you're watching this, you know how much respect not only we all individually have, but how well respected he is internationally and of course around the United States as somebody who's had a lot of success, not only on the court, but invests a ton in coach development. I think that's why this camp works in Snow Valley with Coach Livesey, who I've only met briefly, but those guys have really decided they're going to impact the game from a broader scale. They bring these coaches in from everywhere, from now, around the world to not only teach the game, but we all take nuggets. Maybe it's a whole drill, a whole clinic, or it's, as you see and as you're developing your philosophy, I've never heard it said this way, the vitamins. I may not be coaching bigs, but I'm going to come up with vitamins for guards or pick and roll vitamins, things like that with Twig, how he taught game shooting last week, actually having the kids read. That's the awesome thing when you get assigned a clinic, they give you a couple of bullet points, but you're going to make it your own. So, Tone, I'll let you have the floor. Break it down for us, what you learned about Coach Showalter, maybe a few things you had no idea before reading his fantastic book. Make sure you go out and get a copy. If you're working camp, you either got a copy or one's going to be sent to you shortly. So, Tone, what did you learn from the book? Knowledge, wisdom, all of it.
Just his upbringing, of course. I learned about that first, which they always have in the book at the beginning, but how he just was reaching out to people that you thought would never respond. How he was reaching out to John Wood, work his basketball camp, and ultimately going to work, Snow Valley in California. I think each year after when he started coaching, he was just finding new ways of how to develop as a basketball coach, and also he had just extremely interesting hunger for just basketball. He loved the game. Just back in the day, how they used to write letters compared to what we do, emailing people. Use social media as networking and stuff like that. But like how he was, kept writing Coach Wood for 2 years, and ultimately, the third year he got a letter in the mail or whatever. Actually, he was actually coaching in high school in Waverly at the time. He just got some mail one day and just so happened he had a letter from John Wood. But just how he was meeting people throughout camp, and it was kind of crazy how I do stuff with camps and stuff, working these different, meeting different people, kind of how he was doing it as well. So it was kind of eye-opening how he, how he was doing the same stuff back in those times to where I'm doing it like all of us are doing it now. And the main thing is at the end, he got the gold lessons about how you can improve. And Coach K got something in common to me. They never coached a team the same way each year, which what we was talking about last night with our program back home in Louisiana. I didn't really too much look at extras, it was more off the course stuff that we had, to go on, work on and improve for the kids to have some type of stability.
Mhm.
But the book was overall good. I mean, I read it, of course, because wake up in the morning looking at cornfields.
I was gonna say.
You know, if I was back home somewhere, you know, I would tell me to read it. But it's a good book. Then also, you know, just knowing Coach Show for the whole amount of years. But if you're a coach, you know, just starting coaching, it's a good book to read.
Mhm. And I think, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through it now, but it seems like he's given a blueprint almost to here's how I had my success. Not here's how I had my success, because I think he's still successful. And one of the great things about all great coaches, the continuous learning and questioning, and you know, anytime we have discussions like this, you learn something new just from either talking about it and like, oh, actually, I got really good. That's a really good thought, or hearing somebody share. But what would you say? You mentioned Coach Showalter writing letters, but what was kind of that next step? Because anybody can write a letter, and I'm sure he wasn't the only person doing that. But really made him stick and gave him that ability to go and work Coach Wooden's camp as a small school. Because I'm from a town about 800. Coach Showalter coached at a school that was a little bit bigger than mine, but three small little towns that was about 1,000, 1,200 people total. But what allowed him to not only get those opportunities, but keep those opportunities, keep growing those opportunities?
And being consistent. I mean, he never gave up. He didn't hear, a word from Coach Wooden or whoever he was reaching out to. Just kept writing.
Mhm.
Kept writing.
What show is saying, do a great job where you're at.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that relates.
And most of the time, like Corpio, Corey Alexander, those guys that day seven, they always say the same thing. Like they was just in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
I always say I looked up, but it's some more than just saying they looked up. I think they were just consistent
Mhm.
doing what I tell you guys and everybody else. You gotta be a familiar face to people that whatever you want to accomplish. You want to be a millionaire, you're gonna sit at the dinner table with a bunch of millionaires. You want to get around some good coaches or whatever, you got email, reach out, stuff like this, just being consistent
Mhm.
or whatever. I mean, how could I put it? I want to say if you're in it for the title,
Yeah.
ain't gonna last. But if you love the game, you got passion for what you do, ultimately, some good things gonna come.
Yep.
It's just like being a basketball player. You're consistent. Being a teacher, consistent in the classroom. Overall, just being a good person, doing the right thing.
Yep. Be in rooms where opportunity exists, and then when the person that has an opportunity that's looking for somebody needs it. Hey, I know Coach Sterles, and I want to give a shout out to Coach Sterles. He's very humble. But if you follow him on social media, this guy's been grinding. I met him 11 years ago. He didn't talk to me, but in fairness, he didn't talk to anybody other than Coach Spielbauer and a couple other people that he knew. And now he's really, in terms of networking and reaching out, like he's followed the blueprint and built relationships, and has been helpful. Not along the way, has been consistent, still great with being in touch with a guy like me who's just kind of doing my thing and being just consistent. Where with kids, really in it to help kids, things like that. And Tony, what are some of the strategies you mentioned more in the modern day? And I think Coach Showalter, reading the first portion of his book, the consistent reaching out. How do you do that now in 2023 as you're getting opportunities to go and work all these different camps with CP3 Elite Guard Camp last summer, Nike Academy last summer, being all USA Basketball Gold Camps, which both of us are involved in. But how have you gone about networking and meeting these people and becoming a familiar face when you only see someone for a snapshot on a weekend?
I think as far as coaches or anything now, everybody's looking to market themselves, promote themselves, which is not, it ain't bad at all. But like for example, I went to the CP3 Elite Guard Camp last year. Of course, like as a coach, being a player, like we both all have, like it's easy for us to get on the court, go through a drill or see some of the player that they need to work on and make some up like that or whatever, just intermingle with coaches because that's a natural, feeling that we have, natural vibe. But like I wanted to educate myself on the marketing side of it, so I reached out, which I knew some people before. They reached out to all like the Jordan brand like people that work at the headquarters and stuff, just seeing how they, far as how they do stuff on that side, even though they love the game just like we do, but they doing it from a perspective of advertising. Probably one of the best shoe brands ever.
Yeah, greatest sports marketing organization.
Yeah, so
we can say it.
If you really want to learn about, far as networking, I think you should add, educate yourself on the marketing side of it. Basketball, it's a marketing.
It's entertainment.
Yeah. So
did you like send a lot of emails or something? Or?
Yeah, a lot of emails, and also I got on LinkedIn. When was it? In August. So, and they'll tell you, like for example, I never did a resume on one page.
Yeah, and you learn the skills you need along the way.
So that's so no vice, person when it comes to marketing. So I'm like, okay, get a resume, get a one page, which a one page is different. Just put short stuff on there where you played at, what camps you done, put some pictures and stuff on there, and your daily routine. It can be something that you can send some minor text messages or do an email or whatever. I think the craziest thing I did, kind of like with Coach Show, reaching out to John, Coach Wood. I emailed everybody, just all the executives for Nike except Phil Knight. Out of I think it was 15 of them, I think 2 of them got back to me, which I mean it's fine.
Those are high level people. If you're not in the Nike or the executive world.
Yeah, but I think you should use social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use all that stuff. I mean, those people have a life, but use it for your benefit of reaching out to them. They look at you and he got basketball, and people like that, kind of like with Coach Show. They love when somebody come up to them like Coach Show. And I've been hearing about your camp, been around for so long. Of course, he's gonna say something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the night guys, Jamal Lucas, Sam Druffel. There's a whole bunch of dudes I know. I got when I text them, they text back. It may be not the same day, it might be the next day. Them guys, they work, they move just like us or whatever. But I think if you love the game that much, or whatever you love, you're gonna put in that work automatically.
Yeah.
And whatever you desire, if it's that you want, is ultimately gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I always tell people. Just dream, it'll manifest. Keep, whatever dreams you got, certain goals you got, keep to yourself, write them down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as Tony's mentioned, he's a big journaler, as am I, with Gratitude Journal and Twig. What were you going to say? Because I've heard you about to interject twice. What were you going to say?
Just on the points you've made, I think all the old-timer coaches that have been here for over 5+ years, it's just people that are so authentic. And someone like Don, who deals with many people in the basketball world, from USA, from NBA, from a kid from London to he'll, like, an example of it, like he'll reply in an email within seconds. I don't know if you guys have that as well, right? And he's one of the most busiest guys that I know. And that's just an authentic quality of just basic communication. And that's just a quality that I think comes down to all the coaches that work Snow Valley Camp, from all yourselves, and the way that they hold themselves and hold themselves accountable is just incredible and remarkable. Like to be a part of that basketball world and be a part of a different side of the game internationally in the UK. It's such a nice balance of getting a different aspect of life in terms of the game from the stateside compared to the UK. It's great.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, so Twig, you've been coming here for about five years, minus COVID, of course. But when you first came here, I believe, were you doing junior NBA stuff, or what's kind of been your journey? Because I know internationally,
Yeah.
clubs and things like that. And again, Twig's very humble, but he's coaching for the London Lions now, which is very good, one of the better programs in overseas and things. So Twig, kind of give us a quick breakdown, as long as you like. I think we've got like 4 people watching, so but I'm just more curious.
Sure.
How do you
Yeah.
navigate that internationally? I mean, if you could give us a little insight into the FIBA kind of not licensing, but the levels of classes, because if I'm not mistaken, to earn your license over there, there's actual classes and coaches.
Yeah.
So if you could tell us about that and how that works.
Sure. So just a little bit about me. I'll give you the short version. I started coaching when I was 11 years old. And I was invited to coach like 8-year-olds. So I don't know what's that, 6th grade, 7th grade?
8-year-olds, that's like 3rd grade.
Oh, 3rd grade. Sorry. It works differently in the UK, but that's where I started. And I wasn't actually coaching per se. I was just putting basketballs away, picking up cones, picking up bibs, pennies, as you call them, washing pennies and stuff. That's where I started. I done a year of that, and I was learning. And then the following year, I got to actually coach the game then and teach ball handling, pass, just real basic fundamentals of the game. And that's where I grew a real love for the game at that age group. And I still, if I ever get the chance, I love coaching the little kids and giving back like that, because that means so much to me. And then from there, like in the UK, so basketball works very differently. So you have 3 coaching levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, and each level gives you a different rank of what you can coach. So a level 1 certificate is an assistant role. A level 2 is like a head coach role at club level. And level 3 puts you on the national team aspect. There is also a level 4/5, which actually touches into the FIBA side of the game and FIBA licensing. But for you to get that, you actually have to be a part of a national team in some aspect for a certain period of time. I think it's 3 to 5 years we're part of a national team, whether that's England, GB, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. And if you're a part of that, then you get headhunted basically to go and go further. But in terms of my experience, the bigger picture of how I got here, I managed to find myself in Cleveland, and I gave up 3 months of my life, all free of charge, to work at the Cavaliers as a volunteer. And very grateful for mum and dad supporting me, and also God bless my nan who put away some money for me to have an opportunity like that. And I done everything from running the Cavs Academy youth camps, which was great, bit of babysitting, but again goes back to that core value of where I started, of teaching little kids and having them fun kind of games and experiences, to then being Kobe Altman's photocopy boy, bagel boy, coffee boy in the head office. That was great. And being exposed to that and seeing how like an operations work. Done a couple of weeks of that to then dream coming true, like rebounding for guys like J.R. Smith, LeBron. I think Kyle Korver was there at that time. Meeting Steph Curry during the NBA Finals at Quicken Loans. Very, very privileged to have them opportunities. But I think it just comes back to what you were saying, Tony. When you do reach out to people and you're quite honest and authentic with them, then they're going to be authentic back to you. And the way I got that was through Don. I asked Don a couple of questions after I went the first Snow Valley. And that was it. It was a very humbling moment to be a part of that and have that experience of what it takes to be at like the next level and what that looks like. And I've still got my dreams set out of trying to make it to that level. But I know it's not an easy path and there's many winding turns per se. But yeah, that's the big goal for me. And I think Snow Valley helps me realize the reality of that, and also what I'm a part of and how grateful I am to be a part of this camp. from a development side, and also the enjoyment of coaching and the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, no, and I think that's one thing, if you haven't sensed the commonality, is everyone coaching-wise and player-wise, you know, the hours are long, but everybody's here to get better. And there's a humility in that. When you say I'm going to get better, you're acknowledging I don't know everything. You know, you come here to learn, and if you're not leading it, you're coaching a basket. And I think there's like 23 clinics in a week. I've been coming for a while, and I've never seen, somebody lead every single clinic. So at some point, you're going to have to cut the ego and teach someone else's stuff, whether I'm in the post helping Coach Henderson. And it, you know, and everybody has a coaching philosophy, which is amazing. And there's a lot of strategies. No two clinics are often the same. Like I mentioned with Twig gave a clinic last week that with game shooting, it was different. It wasn't. And one thing we talk about is in order to be better, you have to be different. Mm-hmm. And so that's, you know, Twig and I talked about that, different things. But everybody comes here trying to get better. And I'll speak for myself. I've gone out and just bombed on a clinic, and there's this no more humiliating feeling than you've got coaches. And there's coaches in the NBA, there's high level international coaches, high level high school coaches, guys, you know, and you see your name on the list, and then you see 1,000 wins watching what's this guy going to say, and you go out in there, you don't kill it, or don't, you know, perform and teach the way you want. There's hey, I know I need to get better. And go ahead, Brandon.
But I would say the cool thing, because I think everyone in this room has done a clinic where you're like, that wasn't good enough.
Yes.
But working at Snow Valley, I've never felt like the coaches were like, that was horrible, or talking bad about you, or
judgmental like that.
Yeah, you shouldn't coach again. It's the difference of like collaborating and like talking through it and like helping each other.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no, the cool thing about Snow Valley is there's no backstabbing. There's no, well, I want you to fail so I can get the clinic next year. Like that doesn't exist here, right? So
yeah, there's only one to my knowledge, there's only one person that decides clinics, and that's Coach Showalter. So if he said you did a bad job, you guaranteed you're not doing it. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've had a few bad ones myself. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that's, you know, one of the things that makes this place so great is you go out and you do one, and somebody will give you a little feedback, or you go ask, hey, because you know, a little self-awareness. Hey, I just watched that. We're all just a part of this adventure, and that wasn't how we set off on this journey 45 minutes or an hour ago. In my head, that's not how it's supposed to go. And coaches, you know, that's the awesome thing is if you are leading it, or even just when you're a basket coach, there's that buy-in of, hey, this is what Coach Henderson said we're going to do. Yeah. And it may be way better than the version of what you thought it was supposed to be. And that's when it's my favorite, when you go see somebody do something completely different. New terminology, go ahead.
And some of the best clinics, like I know we have some NBA coaches that have done this, Division I coaches and all this. I'll be honest, some of the best coaches, clinics-wise, that I've seen are ones that teach like 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, that was so broken down to its smallest segment and then built back up. It amazes me that like we need great coaches at that level. Mm-hmm. And I think too many times us as coaches, or some of us as coaches, they just want to be high school coaches, not knowing that there is a need in those lower levels too to help the game. So.
Yeah, and that's what Game Shots basketball is all about, is we are trying to get the foundational level and putting out a lot of drills, things that are adapted from here, or just pretty much like I said, we're going to be putting out Brandon's vitamins. When you see something, try to share it. You know, mm-hmm. Airport, you see something, say something at Snow Valley, or just whatever. I'm in the gym. If I see it, I'm trying to share it, because there's, you know, no one has all the answers, and you never know what's going to hit for one person or land, or take a little nugget that's going to help that person teach their second grade team better, or make, you know, when I was a head varsity coach, there was drills that I learned from Coach Spielbauer, who is amazing. That's just like, yeah, that's, you know, his philosophies, and you take from people's communication or their delivery or their content, whatever that looks like. And this is, just an excellent special place. And before we go, Tony and I, we're here this week. And then next Saturday, Sunday, June 29th and 30th. We will be at the Maid Hoops Middle School exposure camp in Chicago. We're going to be up there, so if you're going to be there, make sure you tap in with us. And that Monday, if you are coming to town, myself and Coach Sean Smith will be leading a shooting clinic, 4 hours. And not that you can replicate this model, but will be of a similar progression teaching-wise, starting with, working on some proper technique, getting into some game shots, getting into some reads, playing some 3-on-3, giving you things where players, boys and girls, we've got a couple girls signed up. We'd love to see more as this is Girls Week, and especially as that game's growing. These last few days, I was actually back in Des Moines, Iowa with my brother. He's got 2 daughters and some of my nieces and nephew. And I told Tony, my nephew woke me up yesterday morning. He said, let's go shoot some hoops. We were out there about 7 a.m. His sister came out. By the end of it, we were doing the box drills. They were doing a little shooting competition. So, that age is something, as obviously as an uncle. And, I know Coach Henderson has a daughter, 2 daughters exactly. So, that girls game, I would love to see more girls coming out for that. And that's, experience middle school, because if it's your first time, with it being the high school, I'm hoping in the future we can maybe offer something for lower levels, more, beginner ages, levels. But this year it's experience middle school, high school, boys and girls. Make sure you come out and support. That link has been posted. If you need it, the DMs are always open. Email me gameshotsbball@gmail.com. We can get you that registration link. Walk-ups are welcome. If your brother arrives 9 to 1. We will be taking a little 15-minute break around 11 with a snack. So if you want to come out, it is $50 for the 4 hours. Coach Smith played at Northern Illinois and then played professionally for a handful of years, and now coaches with the Nike Mean Streets and does a great job. Wealth of knowledge. He does a lot of training in the Chicagoland area. I've had the experience and the opportunity to coach at the CP3 middle school combine in that area, and being, from Iowa, Quad City area, there are just connections from obviously this camp and others. So we'd love to see you out, players, coaches. Make sure you pass that information along. It's posted on all our social media across platforms. But guys, I really appreciate everybody making this happen. Sharing the game. That's what this channel is about. That's what, Snow Valley at its core is about, is sharing the game, taking it to the next level. Twig, final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I think one thing we don't talk about enough as coaches here is the sacrifices either our wives, our families, our spouses, our girlfriend, boyfriend, husbands do for us to be here. Like every year, I miss my wife's birthday. And bless her, she is so okay with it, because I think she understands what this means to me. And I think, just before we go, just a big shout out to my wife, and I think to every other spouse or couple or family or child, just a big shout out to them, because they might not understand, because they're not here, what it actually does for us as coaches. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for enabling us to be crazy and work 16-hour days, Alexis. You're the best. But yeah, thank you. And I think that is one thing. I'm really glad you hit on that, because having that support, even when you mentioned your story with Cleveland of, coach, just having that opportunity and having family members that are supportive. And, I tell my parents every year when I come back, they watch my dog, Larry Bird. I appreciate that. They get my yard to play in and all that. And like that support does not go unrecognized. And I think, yeah, for sure. I'm about to sound to Hendo. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to just leave people with?
Obviously thank my wife for allowing me to be 2 weeks away from my family every year. She knows that it fills my tank. I put this in a tweet the other day. What filled the dreams is the baseball. Snow Valley is the basketball. Mm-hmm. So for me, biggest thing, if you want to move up, I get it, but do a good job with what you're asked to do. Like, mm-hmm. If there's too many coaches that try to jump steps, and I just don't think that works very well. Be good at what you're doing. They'll give you more responsibilities. I think you can move up the ladder a little bit faster than people that are trying to step on jump steps. So
Yeah, the process,
Yeah.
to be cliche, but yeah, just, hey, be where your feet are, be given responsibility. And I know that's how my career, when I started Snow Valley, I was a counselor, average high school player, had absolutely no skills, but, Coach Showalter essentially taught me that having a work ethic is a skill. Came here, aired up basketballs, did stuff like that. When I was a manager at college, my first year and a half, that was, not proving it, but just be consistent, as Tony mentioned. And there's a process. You have to know how to run the shot clock if you ever want to coach the game. I didn't know how to run the shot clock, and and I thought I liked basketball and loved the game. So I think that's a great point of when you come here, you see the everything, and Coach Showalter with what he means to the game, how he shares the game, and gives all of us an opportunity to be here. But that doesn't mean if you're a high school coach, and like Coach Radford, he's been a great high school coach. He's played in several state championships, not only in California, but also in Idaho. He coaches in Central A division, which is 6th and 7th graders. So that no ego is one thing I think Coach Schultz does a great job of. Tone, I appreciate you sharing how you sharing your story a little bit more today. And obviously reading the book, giving us a recap on it. But Tone, what final thoughts you got for the people?
If you're good to the game gonna be good to you.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, keep working. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure if you have not yet, you please hit subscribe. We're very close to monetization, which only helps us bring you better content. Obviously, creative can be a different price. So just by you clicking that subscribe button, and if you really enjoy it, if you could send it to 1 or 2 people, we would greatly appreciate that. We're not asking for any money, but we do certainly appreciate that support. If you are in the Chicagoland area, come out. We're going to do everything we possibly can to make that the best 4 hours and really give players tools that when they leave, not only they'll have learned in camp, but have some basketball things they can take away and implement so they are ready for tryouts and school ball as we roll back into the fall. So thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for Coach Radford for popping in. He absolutely was flying blind. And I think as an OG, coaching as long as I've been alive, I think, really appreciate him. And he's helped me out not only on the game, but also when I've been on a road trip that was poorly planned, I needed a spot to stay. That's happened twice. So shout out Coach Radford. His son Johnny's a great player, camper, and I think there's a lot of guys. Coach Henderson went as a player to Snow Valley, California, and myself, I came here as an extremely average player, left as a slightly above average player. And guys that come back and give back to it. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. If there's any content, anything you want, drills on coaches, we are here to help you. We're in the gym a lot. Tony's in a lot more different states than most of us, but we certainly appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time. We're going to be doing these lives throughout the week, so make sure you are following us all on social media. Hammer the link, share the link. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time. Game Shots Basketball.
Love it.